It's 7:15 a.m. Friday, March, I don't know, 23rd? What was?
24th.
24th. So we're about to stop here and Willem has his work cut out for him. Me, on the other hand, I shall sit in the car and talk to all you, my friends. Thanks, dear. Oh well, there's something there. Okay. So I'm wearing my cedar bark outfit. It's pretty smooth. It's pretty soft. It still needs to be weathered. You know, these some of the bark is a little stiff, but I think in time it will soften. Part of it still needs to be hemmed. You like my jar? This is my oxymel jar. That's very good. It's not everybody that's got a video where they're wearing a cedar bark skirt or a cedar bark poncho. It's warm, you know, it's keeping the cool out. I'm not wearing long johns today. Usually all winter I've been wearing long johns. And I wear these long slips with this. Why isn't this working? There we go. It's very important that it works, you know. So I was going to tell you, before we start telling you something, let's have a prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for my friends. Thank you that I can just turn on this thing on my phone and all of a sudden I'm out there with the rest of the world. Thank you for letting me live in a place where there are deer and turkeys, possibly bear, foxes, wolves, coyotes. Thank you so much for blessing us with all the blessings that have come to us because thou art our Father and art providing so many things for us, so many possibilities. Thank you so much for the people that in our lives, the people who are close to us and who help us through this jumbled mess of an earth life. We're grateful for thy patience with us, and we ask that thou will bless us, that we'll have thy spirit to be with us as we drive, that I will be prompted if there's any deer on the road or nearby, and that we will make it there on time to get ready and be in the 7th session on time. And these things we pray, 11:30 actually. These things we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Okay, so okay. I love driving, but you know, at 67, my days of driving are getting to be numbered. Well, I shouldn't say that. I remember.
Pedal to the metal.
Oh yes, thank you. You just be my accelerator prompt. So I have to be able to see my other thing. Do you know where my little connector piece is that connects this GPS to the window? The little suction piece?
I have no idea. I don't want to look at it when I'm asleep.
I know you want to.
Unless you want to push over the ground.
I just need it so that I can see where we are and what's going on here.
You know the routes. Why do you need it?
Darling, it tells me my speed.
Oh,
It tells me my minutes. Okay, well, what I'll do is I'll put my friends up here. There you go. All right. Okay, so I'm going 90. We're gonna arrive at 10:43. We lost 5 minutes there at the gas station. Oh, we got a lot of lakes over beside us here. I guess that's Charlotte Lake and Black Lake, and this place is just all lakes. Let me show that to you. Look at all the lakes. It's all lakes. Oh, it just messed up. It's all lakes. And it's beautiful. I love the rocks. I think I saw a bear through here once. I think this is where the bear crossed the road. There, I do it like that, and then you can see there. Okay, so I wanted to talk about Mary. Mary died. Mary, we renamed Mary Maryjane Windshield. Yes, Mariah, because they call the wind Mariah, and that's just who she was. And Windshield because we needed a last name to go with Mariah. And if it's the wind, how about Windshield? So her name became Maryjane Windshield. So I met Mary when I was little, and she had long black hair, and she laughed, and she was kind of like a little urchin. She would hide behind people and come out and do funny things. And her brothers were always chasing her, Billy and Bert. They locked me in the barn once, or at least Billy locked me in the barn once, which to a child is no big deal. Let's just lock the door. But to me, it was something I remembered all my life. It wasn't scary. It wasn't a very big barn, but that's what they did. They were our cousins, and we lived in Georgia, and they lived in Connecticut. And my grandmother's place, Tall Trees, was in upstate New York, in near Millerton, Pine Plains. Actually, it was Bacon, some Bacon Road. Was it Bacon? I don't remember. Pulver's Corners. That's right. Tall Trees at Pulver's Corners. White picket fence, barns all up around the back. It was quite a delightful place to go. We had a little building called what was its name? Basswood. And now I have basswood trees. I don't have a basswood, but I had a basswood. That was my little Heather and me. And now see, Mary's family, they lived in Connecticut, which was only half an hour away. But the relatives at my dad's parents' house at Tall Trees were different than the relatives at my mom's sister's house. My mom's aunts. My mother's mother died young, very young, 56 or something. She had an aneurysm. My mother, it was her wedding time. She got married and she was on her honeymoon. Her mother had been to the wedding, but I don't think her mother had been well. Maybe she couldn't come to the wedding. I don't remember exactly. Look at these beautiful trees. Isn't that gorgeous scenery? I love going to the temple. Okay, so now about Mary. I'm supposed to talk about Mary because I guess I'm in the grieving process, and although I'm not crying and sad, I am a bit muted, and I feel I don't feel abandoned or anything like that. But I realize now that she was a big sister to me. She really took care of me, and I took care of her. She loved my, I don't know, she loved my ability to think and to create and to uplift her. She loved that I would phone and make her happy, and we would laugh and smile. Five years ago, she was diagnosed with leiomyosarcoma. And it's a fast-growing tumor that only 37% success rate with chemo. Perhaps if you do many rounds of chemo. I don't know, but there was no way she was going to do chemo. Absolutely not. And so then she embarked down the road of all the other possibilities. She worked so hard. She took everything that was touted as good for it, and she had such a regimen. She had so many pills that she was taking every day. There was the mushroom that, let's see, it grows on the birch tree, chaga. And then there was the pit of the apricot seed, with B17. She took that every day. She only juiced, she didn't eat. She was very careful not to eat dairy because, you know, dairy is a growth promoter. If you have cancer, it's going to promote your cancer. So she didn't drink any dairy, didn't eat anything. She did for a while at the beginning. She was very careful not to have sugar or sweet stuff. She also was gluten-free. So she juiced. She juiced celery and beets and carrots and who knows what else. And she juiced every day. And she had such a regimen. And then she would go, she got into Reiki. So she had a Reiki teacher, and she went to, one of her teachers had a horse and children, and so she would go over there and play with their children and help care for their horses. Just fun, you know, and babysit sometimes. And she also got involved with, there was a real anti-vaxxer. I don't know much about her except that that's the way I call her in my head. She was so sure of all these things on the internet that worked. She was so positive. Now let me tell you that the doctor said she would have 5 years to live, and she had 5 years to live. And the tumor grew and had to be removed, and if not, she would have died in a year. And then it grew again and had to be removed. And then the last time it grew, she didn't want it to be removed. She was afraid of surgery. She was afraid it would metastasize, and just cutting into it was going to be a bad thing. And so she refused to do that. And And so this time when it grew, it cut off it was in her abdomen, so it cut off all the function of the things around it, causing great pain. Anyway, and so all this stuff that she did, all this stuff, nothing worked. And I think that it's important to know that if you have leiomyosarcoma and you're going to try and go it alone and do it with all the many things that they tell you about on the internet that absolutely work, it doesn't work. None of it worked. She was in good health. She was in excellent health. She was hiking on the mountains. So this anti-vaxxer friend, she would feed her all kind of information of non-pharmaceuticals, and she was all charged up about this, and she would talk for hours, and they would go for long hikes. And Mary loved her. They had a wonderful relationship. They hiked every week, 5 miles. And so we, a few years ago, I said I was going to hike the Appalachian Trail. We see how that turned out. Well, we couldn't because Mary had cancer. At first we couldn't because it had too many ticks, and I just didn't want to have Lyme disease. Especially medicated Lyme disease. That would be terrible. It's worse than fibromyalgia. We're arriving at 10:43. That's okay. We don't want to be there any later than 11. We could be later. I mean, we possibly could sneak in under the wire and be on time. But we really need a half an hour to be comfortable. So 10:43, that gives me not much time. So I have to go the speed limit all the time, or faster, well, not to go as fast as I'm supposed to. Dally. Mary and I really got to know her when her dad brought her home from Colorado. What a blessing that was. Had she not gone to Colorado, we were hippies, and she got there and she was being a hippie in Colorado, and her dad went and got her and brought her back, and he was supposedly going to take her home, but he came to Connecticut. And I remember a conversation he had with my mom asking if Mary could stay. This was Uncle George. This was my mother's brother-in-law. Aunt Ella wasn't there. It was just Uncle George. And so he really was the beginning of the blessing in my life that Mary was. So I traveled all over the place as a teenage hippie. And I would always come back to Athens and I would find Mary. And just life was just good with Mary. Everything was okay. I was completely accepted exactly the way I am. It was awesome. And I was somewhat admired. Sometimes I would do very admirable things in her eyes. Actually, a lot. She was much like my mother that way. My mother would say to me, "Oh, Nancy, you can do anything." And my principals at the school, when I would get sent to the office, would say, "Nancy, you can do anything you set your mind to." And I didn't realize that they were right. I thought this was just a pep talk. Anyway, but Mary also, she's been with me I'm 67, so she's been with me about 50 years. I met her when I was 14. Or got to know her. We worked in the same, I had a job and so I helped her get a job there. So we both worked at Bonanza. And then as things go, she met somebody and moved out. And so there I was. And we would see each other a lot. We would bump into each other. She had long black hair. She was the perfect hippie. She was perfect. And everybody looked at her. Everybody liked her. She would laugh and everybody was drawn to her. And I really wished that I could be that way. I really wish that people would love me like they loved Mary. Everybody we met. I was invisible when I was with Mary. But she loved me. And that made up for everything. We were best friends. And she got married and I got married, and we went to we spent our honeymoon in her house it was in Farmington. Oh, she had a house in Farmington. She lived with a few people there in the country, and I went to see her all the time, and it was one of these wooden houses that was kind of typical of the Georgia outback. You know, red bare soil with a wooden house that was stained from the red soil splashing up on the edges of it. And up the street there were these farmers that had farmed forever. They were the most humble. They were black farmers, and I always found that black people were so kind and humble, and they were religious and loving. They would take care of you if you needed help. And so she lived amongst these people. Maddie Sue took care of, I don't remember what the name of the lady was, but the lady was a white lady, and Maddie Sue lived there and took care of her. And Mary would go over, and she had the most wonderful relationship with Maddie Sue and the older woman. And then the farmers next door would give Mary beans from the garden, and she's like a will of the wisp. She's like a wisp, floating here and there, touching down, saying things like, I only need a corner to sleep in. I just need a little corner. That's all I need. And she was so unpretentious. She was who she was, and nothing more and nothing less. And she was shy. She lived in a small town. And so, small towns being what small towns are, she kept to herself, away from the town. Her husband was a very famous person, and the parties would swirl around him. And she didn't want to be part of that. And so she was to herself a lot. And then she would meet somebody that in our day, or back in the day, would be called a hippie. And there were a lot of people in Connecticut back in the woods that were really cool people. And those became Mary's friends. One of them lives on the river. It's not the Housatonic, it's a stream that flows into it. And it's the most beautiful mountain stream. I mean, talk about mountain streams. Willem and I went there years ago, and we were amazed at how beautiful it was. Well, last summer I was there, and there was Mary in the stream, up to her, laying down up to her neck. It wasn't a very deep stream. Those mountain streams aren't very deep. And she was up to her neck in this ice cold water. And she was sure that this was going to help kill the tumor. And she was 100% in for it. She was going to kill this tumor. She had such a determination. I've never seen her so determined. Except when she had little children. She was so determined to keep them away from the hot stove. And I remember when they built their new kitchen years ago. Her kitchen was a hub. All of Billy's friends would come over. So if you sat there in the corner, in the nook, the kitchen, you know, the table in a corner with benches. We had a corner like that when I was in New Jersey. Anyway, so they had one there, and people would come and go. And one would come in, and maybe they'd have a little bit of business to talk about, you know, an odd job they needed help with. Others would just drop by on the way. They'd been there, they're on their way back, they're on their way somewhere, and they'd all just stop by. They all knew each other, and they all knew Billy. I think they might have all been firemen, but not necessarily. And then there were the strays. There were young people who didn't really have a place. And Mary would take them under her wings. And so she had these extra kids that I never really knew about. She never let her left hand know what her right hand was doing, you know. I knew nothing of her friendships. I knew the names of the people that she was friends with, and I knew little bits about it. Never seen that before, and we've gone by this road I'd like to think it was every week, but it isn't. So, Mary, the tumor took over, the pain got bad, got pills, I think it was opioids, and they put her to sleep and made the pain go away and made life wonderful. And so she slept, and she'd wake up and she'd be so happy. All the people that would come to visit her and all the relatives that came, and she just loved everybody, her daughter and her son, and they all gathered around and took care of her. And she would tell me we'd phone every day, you know, and if I wouldn't phone, she wanted me to phone. She would be like, "Oh, there you are." She had a schedule. Her brother would phone her at a certain time, and so I tried to not phone at the same time as her brother would phone. You know, I think I made some videos like this after my dad died. I think I just talked and talked about my dad. Just sort of put all the bits into one place, into one box. Anyway, so I've been writing text messages to Mary, and sometimes she would get them before, not that much. You know, she wasn't ever really interested in technology. Technology was just not her thing. She would rather feed the raccoon and the cat and the squirrels and even the porcupine, and take care of all the animals and feed the birds in such a way that the bears couldn't munch down on everything. They could only get a cup or two of food if they came. Couldn't eat at all. One day she opened the door and there was a bear in the midway place between the house and the garage. It was a covered place, you know, it was part of the house inside the door. But she would leave that outer door open, and after that she never left the outer door open again. the bear had come in and he had his face into the bird food. She was the first person I knew that actually, well, not the first person I knew, no, but I remember the time that we went somewhere and she paid like $50 for a room for us. And I was blown away because I would never spend money on a room, ever. I had lots of, I had 5 rocks. There's some on the side of the road. But I think is this down here? Yeah, that's a beautiful little spot. Maybe that was it. I don't think so though. I think there's 2 of them. I think it's around the corner here. Screens are to keep the turtles from walking up. We have huge turtles, about a foot across. Okay, now right here, is this it? Let's check. No, that's a look-alike spot. So the first one had water, this one doesn't. What about here? Here, this is it, that's it. Okay, so it's the 3rd spot. The first one has water, the second one doesn't, and the 3rd one is the right place. That's good to know. So I have a whole playlist of Mary. You can watch all those videos. There's so many of them. We went to the Gulf Coast together, and I videoed all the time. It bothered her. She didn't want to have me videoing. She's a very private person, hanging out with the most public person. It's a beautiful little canyon up there, a little valley. I think the valley between our house and Deer Meadow, I think that can be classified as a canyon. I don't know. To me, it's a canyon. Probably not big enough or deep enough. Oh, look we're getting into all the deadfall. All the trees have been broken down. There was a tornado that went through one year. Last year, I think. Yeah, last year. Just stuck right to the highway. got a sign that says free firewood, and everybody would come and clean it up for them. River up here, and it follows the river. So Mary kept it a secret that she had cancer, and I got irritated with her and told her she has to tell her children. So in some ways, she was a big sister to me. We were always there for each other, and we would go get together and spend a month together in the summer. Not every summer, but many times. How fast the hair on my face grows. I wonder if my real hair, my hair on my head grows that fast. So Mary dying, so it's been kind of a dark time. You know, she was in pain, more and more pain every day. And then she started getting people in there to help her. And she had somebody that came every day. But they couldn't operate anymore. It was inoperable, they said. Anyway, and so then she answered her text messages much less frequently. And every time I called, there was a lot of people there, and she was talking, not necessarily a lot, but there were people there. So after her husband died, he died in July. Maybe it was June. I went to the funeral, remember? In Connecticut, they put his ashes in a cannon and shot it out over the fire department. Anyway, I don't think they'll do that with Mary. She has a tree that she has bought in one of these newfangled cemeteries, which is just a forest. You buy a tree and you put your ashes on the tree. So, feelings that I'm feeling. I don't really know what I'm feeling. I know I lapse into dark spots. Not sure why. I think it's part of the grieving process. But you see, because of my knowledge of the other side, I'm not at all worried about death. It's just a door. It's just a door. A door that you can't send letters home from. I suppose you could. Little bits drop by now and then. But I wonder when she got there if she was surprised to be there. Because I'm not sure she really believed she was going to die. Every time I talked to her, she was convinced that as she spent more time sleeping, she was healing. But there was a tumor growing, and I'm not sure. And so now she's left her body, and now she's awake. She's not asleep anymore. She's not lost in all of the fog of the pain. She's not... Boy, this guy really slowed down once the passing lane ended. Hey, the sun is coming up. Hey, maybe we'll have sunshine. I'm so solar powered. As soon as the sun comes out, it's like plug in my happy smile. As soon as the sun is there I feel good now. But it doesn't last. I can't carry it over. Oh, those are geese. Sorry. Okay, guy, you're not going fast enough. We'll be late. Now this means I have to pass. This is a... I don't like being in the passing mode, you know, where you're right up on the guy's tail and you're waiting and looking around. Is this a good time? Is that a good time? It's high stress. Oh. I may just have to enjoy it.
Did he miss the turtle?
No, I'm following my GPS. In order to arrive there now, we'll be there at 10:39.
Okay.
We have to go this way. This is the 407. Is that what it's called?
The 407.
The 406? What is it? We're gonna get what?
You're gonna go through the 407?
Yes. Yeah, you said we have to do that because we're late.
Yeah, but I was thinking we go to the 401 first and then the 407. But it might work too.
This is good. It's gonna have us there at 10:39, so
Okay, that should be fine.
it works. So I feel, I need to put it in words. I don't know what I feel. Sometimes I feel flat. I feel a little bit of anger, but that's a temporary stuff about other things. And that should not be influencing me at all. And I don't really feel sad. I don't feel like crying. It's an awareness that I can't phone her anymore. And it's yet to see how my life will be changed because of not having Mary in my life. It's yet to be seen. Perhaps I will develop relationships with all of Mary's friends. She kept us all apart. I guess it's easier to confide in somebody if you know they're not going to talk to somebody else that you also confide in, or somebody close to you. And so I would love to become close friends with her siblings and all the other cousins, you know. So maybe that will happen. Part of me just wants to back out and not have any more to do with Connecticut because Mary is my friend and my person there, and I was always a little black sheep of the family, and you know how that is. So we both were, which was good for each other because you could feel the rejection from the non-hippies. I'm just an old hippie. Phragmites was all twisted around each other. It must have been the wind, all the traffic, but there's often Phragmites by the roadside that doesn't have that. I don't know. Such beautiful forest, you know. I'm so blessed to be able to find places to walk in the forest. So do I feel lost? Yeah. I have lost something very important to me. But if she had gone away to university in Europe, you know, or if she was hiking the Appalachian Trail, I wouldn't be able to contact her. So let's just pretend she's walking the trail. She could be. I'm not sure. I don't think there's any definitive information on it, but I don't think people leave until they know what's going to happen to their body, because they're going to need that information in the resurrection. And so before your spirit leaves the planet, you have to know what's happened to your body, where it is. Because on the morning of the first resurrection, we all jump back into our bodies, which will be perfect at that time. I love these rocks. I love how smooth some of them are. The name of some of them is Gneiss, Gneiss. Gneiss rocks. There's also some red, which is feldspar. Generally red is feldspar, but I don't really know. I have geology books. I should take my geology books out into the woods and identify rocks. Yes. What if I did that as well as cattails this year? So this year I'm going to learn about all the ways to eat cattails, and I'm going to stock up on it for food storage. We have a double yellow line here, but there's a passing lane beside us. Good morning, Coventina. This is the reason to take the other highway. However, the other highway is longer. And so what we lose with slowing down, we make up for in not having to go as far. This is amazing. This is a double yellow line when it's a perfect passing line. Boy, this school bus, he's going 77 kilometers an hour. Probably got to tell
Even
the
though
children.
there's a double line, it is not illegal in Ontario to cross it. Well, if you're back to two-lane highway.
Oh, on a 3-lane highway, you can cross the double yellow line?
Yeah, even on a two-way highway. You can
Oh, really?
cross, yeah. But of course, on a three-way highway, you have to be sure that both the other lines in the other direction are clear.
Right, okay, here we go. So what is the feeling of grief? Is that where you're so sad you're crying all the time? Do you know what grief is, Willem?
I think that's part of it. There are these stages of grief.
Oh yes, that's right. Okay, so the first stage is
negotiating phase and whatever.
the first stage is anger. And the second stage is first stage is shock. I was quite shocked when I heard that she was on death's doorstep. I was really surprised. I had not. I kind of normal, which is what I'm gonna get rid of this. I gotta shrink this tumor, you know. And I'm healing, and I'm resting, and I'm feeling much better, you know. And so there was this hope. She had this undying hope, which, of course, I didn't have the same amount of it. I knew, but I didn't know it was so soon. I didn't know it was like this. Part of me thinks that the opioids made her sleep all the time, and after a while she didn't feel like eating. And so, you know, what came first, the chicken or the egg?
But I think without the opioids, the pain will drain you completely and will cause you to sleep a lot too. So I believe that's what he said. I think I've heard that somewhere.
Okay. Town. Gotta go 50 in a town. I'm relieved for her. I'm very relieved for her because she wasn't ready to go. She didn't want to go. She wanted to stay. She wasn't done. She kept meeting new people that were helping her with her cause. And she had a coach, and she had all these new friends, and she really learned a lot and made a lot of things come to pass in her fight. But part of me just wants to stay in bed. I guess last week was a really bad week. I think I had hurt my back also. That truck says 2 men with big hearts moving or something like that. I like using the GPS because it tells me the time of arrival. And then I can see if I'm going slower, if my time of arrival lengthens. Look at that, that's 1:36.6. This is a strode, where it's a road that's got things alongside of it, so it's kind of a street, but it's a big road that's a through road. We don't have them in Holland. Stroads. Either you're on a street or you're on a road, but you're not on a strode. So there's shock, anger, acceptance, I feel peace with it. I feel it's okay that she's gone. It'll be difficult for me. I'll have difficult times when I would tell Mary, I would call Mary. So I guess it doesn't sound very good, but I need a replacement. Need somebody else that I'll call. Willem. Maybe I'll make videos. Videos are as good as a phone call. They're better actually because I'm noticing all the red little shoots coming out of the ground, the red osier dogwood. So Mary died 2 days ago, I guess. So I guess I'm bumming. But the sun came out, so I can be happy. I have to choose happiness. I have to decide I'm happy. Smile. I'm glad that I know where she is, and I know that we'll be together again, and we'll definitely compare stories. My story from here on and her story from here on. While she's on her celestial adventure, I'll still be on our temporal existence. I wonder who she's meeting. I wonder who met her when she crossed. I wonder if she's with people now. I kind of had the idea that people are still alone until they go through the veil. I'm not sure. Totally fried chip truck. You know, I don't usually make plans. I don't usually make overarching plans. But when my brother died and I was finished with the house and I came back to Canada, I was never going to Georgia again. That's the end of Georgia. I watched the Georgia news somewhat, but it's over. And so I was thinking that Connecticut would be over too, but I'm not sure how much of an influence or a difference or a help I can be in the lives of Mary's children. They've lost both parents now, one in June and one now. That's pretty sad. Like, that's really sad. They only have each other left. They've always been very close, which is very good. I don't know, maybe I can be a good influence and a help and spread love, perhaps. I'm not sure where I'll stay if I go down for the funeral, because Mary's sister and husband have moved, and so they have to stay somewhere while they're there. So I think they're in Mary's house. And her brother and his wife have also come from a long place. They've moved away, so they also need to stay somewhere. And then if my cousins from Maine come down, they'll have to stay somewhere. I'm not sure. And then there's the son. He's probably, the daughter, she's probably staying with the son. I don't know. Where will I stay? I mean, if we have to go pretty far to get a room. Is going to go to Holland, and so he's going to go be with his mom. I would go too, but we have grandchildren to take care of. It'll be nice to have them here. I love it when my grandchildren come over, even if they don't really pay any attention to me and they're just watching television. Sometimes I'm just sitting there on my laptop too, or doing Minecraft or something. So what is the time? 8:30. Going 91, 94, and we're going to arrive at 10:37. It was 10:34, but now I'm behind another truck. But as long as we arrive before 11, we're good. So 10:37, so we've got 23 minutes cushion. Which, if we end up behind some vehicles like this for a while, No, I don't think so. Oh my, there's a lot of things here. 2 big trucks, a FedEx vehicle, and a car. And everybody wants to pass. But I don't have enough space to pass everybody. I don't really want to go car hopping. That's